And PM East African time, a very good evening to you and welcome to Friday 8 to topics just for you. Tonight.
And the commissioners of the members of in the constitutional commissions, where it is clearly stipulated that you cannot touch their salaries. But this particular provision is going out to touch those salaries.
Senator Okiya Omtatah files a case challenging the legality of the Finance Bill 2023. Omtatah says Kenyans cannot be forced to save. Also tonight, a Dubai-based businessman petitions JSC seeking the removal of Judiciary Chief Registrar Anne Amadi from office over alleged gross misconduct. Plus, the Directorate of Public Prosecutions is seeking 60 more days to hold controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie to enable them complete investigations.
Since the respondents have been in custody and there is an application for extension of their continued detention, I find it illogical to order for their release pending the filing of their responses to the application.
Radanyama is on the sign language interpretation. I'm used to Stanley Iringita, and a very good evening to you once more and welcome to the bulletin. And you can always talk to us on our social media platforms. In the first 30 minutes, I'll be updating you what is happening in the country and in the whole tail, and we'll be getting into your weekly dose of entertainment. Now, first off, the government will reopen the immigration office in Garissa County to facilitate seamless and expeditious processing and issuance of passports in the northeastern region. According to the Interior CS, Professor Kithure Kindiki, Garissa residents will receive the services as of 1st July 2023. The offices were shut down in 2014 in order to seal the operational loopholes that had allowed aliens or foreigners to access crucial immigration documents. 8 years after the closure of the immigration office in Garissa County, the residents here can now breathe a sigh of relief, following a directive by the Cabinet Secretary of Interior, Professor Kithure Kindiki, stating that the office will be reopened on the 1st of July 2023. While addressing a public baraza in the county, Kindiki said the move will facilitate a seamless and expeditious processing and issuance of passports in the northeastern region.
Sehemu hii ya kaskazini na mashariki imekuwa kwa wakati mwingi iko na changamoto spesheli. Safari hii tunataka ile usalama iko Kiambu, iwe ndio usalama iko Mombasa, ndio usalama iko Garissa, ndio usalama iko Bungoma, ndio usalama iko Wajir, ili nchi yetu kila pahali kuwe na standard moja ya kiusalama.
The Garissa offices were shut down in 2014 following a directive by the former Principal Secretary, Immigration Department, Major General Gordon Kihalangwa, in an attempt to seal the operational loopholes that had allowed foreigners to access crucial immigration documents. Residents and leaders led by Governor Nathim Jama were up in arms over this move, some even threatening to hit the streets over the issue.
Hii ofisi lazima ifunguliwe, iwe operational, ili watu wetu waanze kupata passports. It was closed unfairly na watu wetu wamesafa sana.
Wanangoja passport zao ambazo zikuwe tayari waende Hajj, na tumekuja kugundua hiyo ofisi imefungwa na hakuna notice yoyote imepeanwa. Na hiyo kitu imetuudhi sana. Sisi tunaona kama tunadhulumiwa na tuna appeal kwa serikali ya Jubilee ambaye mimi ni mmoja wao. Nataka wachunguze hii maneno na watu watumikiwe.
The directive by Major General Kihalangwa also affected areas like Embu, Nakuru and Eldoret, forcing those in need of the documents to travel to the headquarters in Nairobi. Now, meanwhile, controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie will be detained for 5 more days as he awaits the court's decision on whether he will be detained for 60 days, as was requested by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. Elizabeth Atieno with the details.
10 a.m. Friday morning, Paul Mackenzie, his wife Rhoda Maweo, and 16 others appeared before Magistrate Yusuf Shikanda at the Shanzu Law Court.
Cruelly. That's the best word I can use. They are being treated cruelly, especially the ones who are in Cliff police station. They are really crying. Mwezi mzima nguo ni moja na nguo ziko hapo kwa wabii wamezuiliwa zisiingie. Is that fair?
Such that if they are still in lawful custody and they have not been released from that lawful custody by the orders of this Honorable Court, and the Honorable Court is seized of an application within the period in which they are still in lawful custody, then we are properly before you.
Shikanda urged Mackenzie's lawyers to take advantage of the 5-day period to file their submissions and affidavits.
In the instant case, the initial application has not been spent, and as such, there is no need for the state to file an application, for lack of a better word, on top of another application.
Efforts by the defense lawyers George Kariuki and Elisha Komora to have Mackenzie released after the lapse of the 30-day detention period hit a dead end after Magistrate Shikanda ruled against the application.
Indeed, the initial period for detention expired on 1st June 2023. Nothing would have stopped the state from applying for extension before 1st June 2023. The state could also have applied for extension on the last day of detention. However, the last day of detention happened to be a public holiday.
Police have been holding Mackenzie and the other suspects for a period of 30 days, with investigators probing the case led by Yami Yamina, requesting for more time to enable them conclude investigation on the matter.
My opinion is that the wisdom behind the requirement for applying for extension before the expiry of the period is that the application for extension is tied to the initial application and cannot be considered as a fresh or new application altogether. It is my further view that the state, having applied for a period of 90 days and only 30 days having been granted, there was no need for filing a fresh application for extension.
What an impression that you are reluctant. I don't want to pay for anything. The typist told me she's very busy doing other judicial work. She won't be able to type the proceedings.
Magistrate Shikanda has ordered all lawyers involved in the case to appear before the Shanzu Law Courts on Wednesday next week for the case hearing.
Since the respondents have been in custody and there is an application for extension of their continued detention, I find it illogical to order for their release pending the filing of their responses to the application. For avoidance of doubt, the respondents shall remain in custody pending the filing of their responses.
The Shakahola Forest massacre has so far claimed the lives of 243 people. The exhumation exercise was suspended 2 weeks ago to pave way for the post-mortem, which was completed on Wednesday this week. The third phase of the exhumation exercise is set to kick off on Tuesday next week. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
Well, thank you for that, Elizabeth Atieno. And still on matters religious extremism practices, self-proclaimed prophet Ronald Nakalila, alias Nabii Yohana, has been interrogated by the DCI officers in Bungoma County over claims of running a religious cult. Ronald, who's aged 83, runs the Church of All Nations in Kandui area, Bungoma County. Bungoma County Commander Francis Coley says they are seeking to establish the authenticity of a Bible the self-proclaimed prophet claims to have written. Police are also probing his teachings. It is alleged Nabii Yohana has distanced himself from Jesus of Nazareth and came up with his own 10 commandments.
Majina yangu naitwa Yohana Tano Nabii kulingana na kazi ya Mungu. Nimefika kwa hii station saa 3:30 hapo. Nilihitaji na serikali. Jajua sababu nahitaji na serikali ni nini. Nataka nifikie ofisa ya niambie jambo mbali niita. Sababu Jumatatu alikuwa kwa boma yangu na mimi sikukua. Hiyo Jumatatu ya hii wiki. Nilifika boma saa 8, wanasema nahitaji na serikali bakuone. Sikujua sababu kubwa ni nini. Ndio nimekuja sasa mbele ya serikali waniambie sababu kubwa ambayo waliniitia hapa. Chaelewa sababu ambayo waliniita. Chaambia statement nini ambayo ilifanya wakaniita hapa.
Naomba tu usije si mambo mbaya. Si mambo mbaya tumekuitia. Ni baadhi ya vitu tunataka tu kujua na tatuelezea vile iko ili tuweze pia kukuelewa huyu mzee wetu ana chakula gani anapika huko. Hii chakula anapakulia watu, ni chakula sawa sawa ama ina sumu?
Now to the corridors of justice, and a Dubai-based businessman has petitioned the Judicial Service Commission to remove Judiciary's Chief Registrar Anna Madi from office. In the petition, the businessman Demetrius Bradshaw wants JSC to kick Amadi out of office following allegations of gross misconduct, obtaining money by false pretense and abuse of office. Amani is linked to the 120 million Kenyan shillings gold scandal, in which it is alleged Amadi and 6 others illegally obtained money and were paid over 82 million shillings by Bratton Gold Trading LLC, a company owned by the petitioner Demetrius Bradshaw. Tonight, Busia Senator Okiya Omtata has moved to court to block the Finance Bill 2023, terming it unconstitutional. Omtata, in his petition, accuses the executive of usurping the roles of Parliament and the Kenya Revenue Authority in making the legislative tax proposal. Omtata has further faulted the bill for violating the Bill of Rights, claiming it is forcing Kenyans to pay taxes to purchase houses. Apollo Kamau reports.
Busia Senator Okiya Omtata finally moved to court to challenge the Finance Bill 2023, petitioning the court to declare the bill as unconstitutional and block Parliament from passing the contentious bill. Omtata has sued President William Ruto and the entire executive for usurping the role of Parliament and the Kenya Revenue Authority to propose the tax adjustments.
But what is happening right now is that the power to tax has gone to the executive. They are like talking in a manner that they are not proposing or requesting. They are talking that whether you like it or not, you'll have to do ABCD. So that power does not reside with the president or the cabinet.
President William Ruto, in his Madaraka Day speech, said there will be no let-up in having the bill approved, terming it as a collective national duty.
The millions of young people that will be employed in this sector is sacrifice enough for us who are employed to make that contribution to the housing fund so that we can bring around the change.
According to Omtata's petition, the national government has no competency under the law to build affordable houses, and its mandate is confined to policy only, terming it as a threat to sharing of functions with county governments. Omtata further faults the bill for violating the Bill of Rights, given it's forcing Kenyans to contribute 3% of their monthly pay to purchase homes, citing Section 76 of the bill, which he says threatens the freedom to own property by proposing to compel civil servants to participate in a mandatory tax scheme disguised as a means to facilitate property acquisition.
Section 76 of the bill, I've challenged it for being unconstitutional, for threatening property rights, for threatening constitutional provisions that protect the salaries of independent office holders like judges.
Apul Kamau, TV47.
All right, and we'll definitely be keeping tabs to see how, if that particular proposal and petition will be holding water. Now listen to this story. Lebanon residents in Voi, Taita Taveta County are still reeling in shock after a middle-aged man was found cooking dog meat. According to the locals, the man, identified as Momadi Mutua, attributed his actions to the high cost of living, saying he cannot afford any decent meal. Violet Auma reports.
It was an incident that has left many residents of Lebanon Village in Voi, Taita Taveta County in shock. This is after they found this man, Momadi Mutua, preparing a meal out of dog's meat.
Ilikuwa ni muda wa saa 9 hivi ambapo nilipigiwa simu na kiongozi wa nyumba 10 kwamba kuna mtu anachinja mbwa. Nikaja nikakuta kweli anatoa ngozi na amekuja na mbwa yake. Sijui ameitoa wapi, hatujui, lakini amekuja naye akaanza kuichuna. Nikaja nikashuhudia kweli, nikaona anaichura.
Mamadi, who says doesn't have a family of his own, opted to cook that dog meat due to hunger.
Sasa nimetulia hapa, wale ndio wazazi wangu, wale ndio familia kwangu, nilikuwa hapa nikiwa mdogo, lakini wote waliniacha nibaki hapa peke yangu mdogo. Sasa sina mwingine ambaye anaweza ni promote ni kunisaidia hapa kama mwenzangu ambaye anaweza ishi naye. Sasa nimekuwa na maisha mengine kidogo kwangu makubwa.
Locals say though many Kenyans are facing harsh economic times, they understand that a difficult situation will push one to skin and cook a dog.
Kasema basi mimi nilipopata hii nikaona afadhali nilete nije nikatekate nifanye mboga. Nikamuuliza ufanye mboga unakula nani? Nasema si nikila hivyo hivyo nitashiba. Sasa kama njaa iko sina unga sina chochote, nikamwambia basi si ungekuja nikakutilia kidogo. Akaniambia kwani kila siku utakuwa unanipatia? Siwe saa nyingine wewe unasema hujapata chochote. Siwe mwenyewe pia ukitafuta huwa unakosa. Huwa nakukuta ukinywa strong. Nikamwambia kwa hivyo unakula? Akaniambia
Mamadi, who now lives under this tree, says life has not been easy after his scrap metal business collapsed. Locals are now calling on the government and well-wishers to intervene and help Mamadi. Reporting for TV47, I'm Violet Auma.
Right, and to more stories from County 014, at the heart of Embu Town, close to more than 7 decades ago, stands a wooden structure set up during the colonial government. The building, which served as a courthouse, was meant to prosecute Africans who rebelled against the colonial rule and those the white man perceived rogue and violated white man rule. Mwege William went looking at a Eastern Regional Coordinator's office in Embu counties, where the building has been preserved and is currently under the use by Embu County government. Take a look.
Tonight, we tell you about a building which was erected more than 70 years ago. Behind the building lies a story of how Kenyans were subjected to all manner of mistreatment and unfair treatment by the British colonialists. Today, 60 years after independence, this building, still in wooden walls and a well-maintained roof, has stood the test of time to serve as a monumental reminder to Kenyans of the tough times they overcame under the colonial rule. Located behind the current Eastern Regional Commissioner's offices, the building is unique and stands out from the other offices. The building was put up by the British colonial government and was only used as a courthouse to prosecute Africans perceived to be rebellious to the British government. Despite the apparent facelift of the Eastern Region headquarters, courtesy of the Madaraka Day celebrations to be hosted in Embu, this building has not been touched. It's being preserved by the government as it is a monument to commemorate the struggle for independence. To get a better understanding of the stories that have gone untold until now, we travel 20 kilometers south to the outskirts of Embu town to a place called Don Bosco, where we met up with Peter Njiru, a retired municipal council employee who retired in the year 2006. Despite his advanced age, now in his 80s, he has a vivid memory of how the courthouse operations went down and it was used to make different Africans conform to the will of the colonial rulers.
Hii nyumba ilijengwa kwa sababu watu wale walikuwa wakimanya mambo mbaya, walikuwa wengi sana. Wengine wanaenda wanakutana na wengine wakanyonga.
Having worked at the then provincial administration headquarters, the Africans were treated with little regard by the whites, and as he goes on to explain, Njiru recalls that the word justice was just that, a word. The realities of the elusive nature of justice will come to life once anyone landed in trouble in government and taken to the court.
Siku hiyo kulikuwa hakuna mawakili. Mawakili. Hakuna mawakili iko. Wewe useme na mdomo yako na ule mwingine. Msaidi iko. Msaidi wako. Na kama mko na ule kuna yake. Wasaidi wako waongee. Wakimaliza hao wengine waongee. Hao wengine wanasikiza. Unaona? Ndio kulikuwa.
The court is said to have served the now Kirinyaga, Embu and Tharaka Nithi counties, where the colonial masters managed to rule Africans as well as carry out their own activities without much interference. Interestingly, Njiru narrates that it is Africans who are used to prosecute their fellow Africans at the court, despite the court having been set up by the colonial government under the colonial rule.
Hiyo ndio ilikuwa ya kwanza hapa Embu. Hakuna koti kingine. Hizi zingine zilijengwa wakati hiyo ilikuwa hapa.
According to Njiru, who also worked within the premises as a cleaner, it was a nightmare for any African to find themselves on the stand of the court for committing petty crimes, such as Africans using roads designated for the whites. What caught our attention even more was the fact that the colonial rule did not parade Mau Mau fighters at the Embu court, since their cases were considered serious crime and instead they were transferred to the Nairobi courts. Cases relating to Mau Mau were treated very seriously, and as a result, they were heavily guarded at all times as they were perceived as dangerous during colonial times.
Sasa Mau Mau wakuwa wakisikilizana na mzungu kwa sababu mzungu alikuwa akitaka kuwaua. Na hawa wana defend na haki yao.
Huyu anazikwa, analetwa kwa askari, alaliswe kutoka hapa apelekwe na huko. Si ate aende aongea kwa koti. Hapana. Koti yake ni na huko Nairobi.
The two all carry in their memories the bitter, humiliating treatment that Africans underwent through, observed that the court was a strange matter to locals who had over time used village elders to iron out differences and issues that were considered wrong and unlawful. Prosecution in the court and later detention was a completely new and strange affair to Africans. It is believed that African Court was constructed in 1940, and over years, the building, which is no longer being used as a courthouse, has been renovated to offices used by the county government of Embu. Paul Rotich is the Eastern Regional Commissioner.
We've decided to keep that structure because it is part of the community's heritage. It is a manifestation of where we have come from. And we have no intentions of doing away with it. In any case, we want to put it in good shape so that the future generation can come and appreciate where we have come from as a nation and as a community.
Rotich also noted that other similar structures around the Eastern Region headquarters, among them colonial buildings, Colonial Armory, which is within the now Regional Commissioner's official residence, has undergone renovation and has been mapped out by the National Museums of Kenya, and processes to preserve and gazette them are in top gear. In our continued coverage of the untold stories of Embu's contribution to the struggle for independence, we will tell you of the betrayal of the famous General Kubukubu, a Mau Mau fighter who hailed from Kenjokoma in Embu. Moige William, TV 47.
Thank you for that, Moige William. For the untold stories in Embu, and for more untold stories, a section of Kenyans have accused President William Ruto of taking them for a ride, speaking yesterday after the Madaraka event. Majority of Kenyans have poked holes on President Ruto's Madaraka Day speech, saying it was full of empty promises.
Tuwaruhusu waweze kutoka kwa hiyo taratibu ili tuweze kufuatilia.
President William Ruto's Madaraka Day speech continues to elicit mixed reactions among Kenyans, with a section of Kenyans poking holes in the president's promises, among them the creation of new jobs, addressing the high cost of living, among others.
Maisha imepanda. Hiyo pesa angeleta ienda kwa kupunguza kama chakula, mahindi, irudi chini.
While addressing Kenyans during the Madaraka Day fete, the head of state defended the housing levy, saying the proposed finance bill and housing levy will benefit the local citizen and ensure every Kenyan becomes a homeowner. However, Kenyans are not convinced.
Tengenezwe uchumi wa sahi yenye tuko sahi kwanza. Bado baka mashule bado tunadaiwa madeni hivi. Tupunguziwe gharama ya maisha kwanza.
The head of state made a new promise during the Madaraka Day celebration, assuring Boda Boda operators of new electric motorcycles by September this year. This, he said, will cut the cost of doing business for the Boda Boda operators.
Ametuambia kwamba kuna pikipiki ambazo zinakuja ambazo zinatumia stima, yani zinakuwa charged at electronic motorbikes.
However, the good news is not so good for Boda Boda operators.
Kazi yetu ya boda boda ni kazi ambayo tunafanya kazi ngumu sana. Tunabeba mizigo, hata saa zingine kazi ikiwa mbaya unaweza beba watu 3 kwa pikipiki. Lakini hiyo sample ambayo tumeiona hiyo pikipiki haiwezi hiyo kazi yetu. Hiyo ni pikipiki ya starehe ya watu mabwenyenye wenye wako navyo kidogo. Sio sisi wenye tuna hustle.
With that said and done, it is a matter of wait and see as Kenyans wait patiently for the Ruto-led administration to fulfill the promises it made to Kenyans. Vera Alberta, TV47, Nairobi.
Right, thank you for that, Vera Alberta. And definitely it is a wait and see to see if these particular promises will be just empty or there will be something. But then I give you a promise and it is not empty. After this particular short break, we'll be getting into our weekly dose of entertainment. 3 interesting gentlemen will be right here with me to talk about the music industry. You definitely want to stick around for that.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.